Hello again to another Agakala Reacts. Today we're watching how Poland's election could change Europe from TLDR News EU. And well, I'm interested in that because I am Polish and technically I am able to vote, although I would have to leave my town and actually travel to do it. So let's just get into it and let's see.
This video is brought to you by Nebula. On Tuesday, Poland's president, Andrzej Duda, finally announced the date of the next Polish general election, October the 15th. Even 2 months out, all eyes are on the election, because, to put it bluntly, the election could change the fate of the EU. Depending on who ends up being Prime Minister after October the 15th, one of the EU's most important member states could well become yet more important.
I only know two faces from those pictures. I'm really not that interested in politics, but, well, sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not.
Please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay in the loop and be
going
notified
on. Not sure
when we
what's going on now.
videos.
Mom is here, so can I listen to the radio more often?
Going on here, let's break things down into three parts. Why Poland is so important in the European Union, the broader context of the election domestically, and then the potential ramifications for the EU. First things first, Poland's place in the EU. Now, we've actually covered this before on the channel. In fact, we released a whole video on whether Poland is becoming a major European superpower, which is linked in the description. So we won't get into the minute detail here, but the key takeaway was, and is, that Poland is becoming more and more weighty on the economic, political and social stage of the European Union. On the economic front, while Polish GDP per capita does not yet rival that of France, Germany, Italy or even Portugal, the pace of GDP growth certainly does. Following the fall of the Soviet Union and the country's accession into the EU, Poland's GDP per capita has soared at a much faster rate than its European allies. Now, you could argue that this fast increase is just a matter of Poland catching up, something known as conditional convergence. The problem with that argument being that most believe that Poland's economic rise will continue, with the notable headline earlier this year that Poles will be wealthier than Britain by the end of the decade. With that economic might comes political and military might too. Poland is an important member of the NATO military alliance and, despite recent diplomatic incidents, remains a key ally of Ukraine post-Russia's invasion. But enough background, let's talk directly about the election. As we mentioned right at the beginning, this election is highly contested and watched, with many suggesting that the election could end up seeing the ruling Law and Justice Party lose their grip on power. Though if PIS manage to hold on, they could be headed for an unprecedented third term in office. But what are the polls actually saying? Well, according to Politico's poll of polls, the Law and Justice Party is ahead, but by a slim margin at 36%. Donald Tusk's Civic Coalition is just 6 points behind on 30%. Under Poland's system of proportional representation, that means that neither the incumbents nor the challengers have, in and of themselves, a majority in parliament, meaning that a coalition is likely. Again, according to Politico's poll of polls, in third place, and likely kingmakers, is Confederation Liberty and Independence, also known just as Confederation, at 13%. Confederation was once merely on the fringe of Polish politics, being on the right to far-right side of the political spectrum. When Confederation was formed, its leader said that his aim was to create a Poland without Jews, homosexuals, abortion, taxes, and the European Union.
So he claimed that the comment was taken out of context. I don't even know who that is, and I don't think I've ever seen his face before. Probably heard the name.
Has in the past called for the scrapping of income tax, the banning of abortion, and the curtailment of migration, all whilst also expressing further hostility and opposition. At the same time,
like so many Polish people actually immigrate too.
It's like Poland's unconditional support for Ukraine. PIS has consistently dismissed speculation that it'll enter into coalition with Confederation, but it could be their only way to remain in office. Behind Confederation is the left on 10% and then Third Way on 9%. So what's actually at stake? While Poland and the EU are, in the grand scheme of things, batting for the same team, they don't always see eye to eye. In fact, when looking at Poland's place in the EU, as an institution, as opposed to the collection of countries, Poland goes from staunch ally to somewhat of a headache. Under the Law and Justice Party, Poland has come under fire from the European Union for breaching its core values, namely the rule of law. The EU and Poland have separately clashed on everything from proposed judicial reform and media reform through to the curtailment of women's reproductive rights. What's also put Poland in the EU's bad books is the closeness of Poland with fellow headache Hungary. For years now, Poland and Hungary, under Andrzej Duda and Viktor Orban, have been seen as undermining European policy and institution. On the one hand, both have been incredibly vocal opponents of a number of European policies when it comes to the issue of migration. On the other, each is acting as a protective shield for the other. So let's explain. The European Union, after noticing
Hey guys, say hi to Shadow. Oh, oh. She lost her best friend recently, so she's a bit lost. Okay, let's just keep going.
Each of its core values isn't powerless. Whilst there's no mechanism to kick out a member state, under Article 7 of the Treaty of the European Union, there is a clear risk of a serious breach of the EU's core values, that member states can have their voting rights suspended. This is often dubbed as the nuclear option. The issue for the EU is that there are safeguards in place to prevent the misuse of this nuclear option. Safeguards that are getting in the way of dealing with either of Poland or Hungary. Under the process set out in the treaties, the European Parliament must vote to trigger Article 7 proceedings, and then the European Council must vote by unanimity on those proceedings, i.e. a single no is enough to stop the proceedings in its tracks. Knowing this, there's a tacit agreement between Poland and Hungary to block Article 7 being used against the other. A change in Polish premiership could unblock Article 7 against Hungary, forcing Viktor Orban to change track or double down. There's also the question of money. The rule of law standoff between Poland and the EU has seen Poland's access to the EU's post-pandemic recovery funds highly limited, access that totals some 35.4 billion euros. And that's not to mention the €1 million a day fine levelled by the European Court of Justice for Poland's failure to shut down a judicial disciplinary chamber. Again, if, and it's currently a big if, there's a change in Prime Minister, that money could be unblocked. Putting aside the rule of law issues, a new occupant of the Polish premiership could yet spark fresh impetus in the broader European project, given who any new occupant is likely to be: Donald Tusk. If you think you've heard that name before, you probably have. Donald Tusk has already been Prime Minister of Poland between 2007 and 2014, proceeding on to becoming President of the European Council from 2014 to 2019, a time period that spanned an incredibly tetchy time for the EU, to say the least. If you enjoy diving deep into topics like this, if you're the kind of person who wants the even smarter and more analytical side of these stories, then you'll really enjoy our new series, The Daily Discussion, where we cover a number of other important topics from the endless coups in the Sahel region, the Twitter rebrand, or the specifics of the war in Ukraine. The TLDR writing team hosts these daily discussions most days, diving deeper into a news story we write about, and unpacking the hidden details that they found fascinating, but that were either too long or too academic to make it into the final script. If you want to check this series out, you can find the episodes exclusively on Nebula. The best news is that Nebula is less than £2 a month and provides you with ad-free and exclusive videos from TLDR and a ton of incredible content from other creators like Johnny Harris, Real Life Law.
Sorry guys, Shadow got her nail stuck into my chair and she couldn't unstuck it. And obviously that's really uncomfortable for her. So, yeah. Okay. So finish that. Okay. I think that was just the end anyway. Well, I don't know what to say. It's politics in Poland are, well, every politics are a bit complicated. What's going on in Poland, I'm not up to date too much. I know kind of what's going on. I know there's gonna be a referendum as well in some regards of some other questions and stuff at the same time. So I don't know, I might make a trip to Cork or Limerick maybe to vote on the 15th of October, but we'll see. We shall see. Anyway, what do you think? Are you interested in Polish politics? Are you not? Because I'm kinda am, kinda not. And thank you very much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye!